In an elementary school in 1959, there is a girl named Lucinda who keeps looking around continuously, while whispers come from voices she hears. Because she is so focused, she does not hear her homeroom teacher, Mrs. Taylor, calling her to enter the classroom. Inside the classroom, Mrs. Taylor tells the students that tomorrow there is an official school opening ceremony, since the school is still newly established. At the event, there will be a capsule planting, where all the students in this class will draw what the future will look like, and all these drawings will be put into the capsule. 50 years later, a group of elementary school children in the future will open it and see what pictures were drawn. The capsule planting is thanks to Lucinda's idea, which the principal approves from all the students' ideas in the school, making all the other students feel displeased with Lucinda. The students start to draw. Some draw spaceships and robots, but not Lucinda, who instead writes numbers filling the paper until Mrs. Taylor takes her paper away. After all the students write their names on envelopes, the envelopes are put into the capsule and buried at the school inauguration event the next day. At that moment, Mrs. Taylor sees Lucinda standing alone holding a balloon. After she looks again, Lucinda is gone with her balloon floating away. Thinking Lucinda has disappeared, the police and Mrs. Taylor search all over the school. Finally, Mrs. Taylor finds her in a small room, with her fingers already bleeding after scratching something on the door. Because she still hears whispers, she asks them to stop, but Mrs. Taylor does not understand what she means. 50 years later, there is an astrophysics professor named John, who has a son named Caleb in elementary school, and Caleb studies at the same school that Lucinda used to attend, which still exists. John has lost his wife a year ago due to a hotel fire incident, and he and his son still miss their beloved person. Seeing his son watching TV late at night, John asks him to turn it off, but Caleb replies that there is no class tomorrow because tomorrow is the 50th anniversary celebration of the school. Before sleeping, Caleb usually removes his hearing aid because he has a hearing problem. The next day at the campus, John asks two students to tell him everything about the sun. They answer that the sun's surface temperature is about 5,500 degrees Celsius, 15 million degrees at its core, and it contains hydrogen, helium, carbon, and nitrogen. Then John asks why the sun is at the perfect distance from Earth so that life can evolve and all of them can study at the university today. He thinks that everything has a purpose and the order is already determined. But there is an argument saying that everything is coincidence, the result of a complicated chemical accident and other things. After class ends, John meets his colleague Phil, who wants to invite him for coffee. But John suddenly remembers he has a promise with his son to attend the 50th anniversary event at Caleb's school, so he quickly leaves. There, the principal introduces Mrs. Taylor, who is now old, and after the ribbon around the capsule is cut, the capsule is finally opened. Seeing the capsule about to be opened, Caleb goes to get his envelope, and after he gets it, his hearing aid makes a loud noise from the whispers he hears. It turns out Caleb gets Lucinda's envelope, which contains many numbers. At that moment, he sees a mysterious figure dressed in black, and after his friend disturbs him, the mysterious figure disappears. At that moment, John sees Lucinda's paper that Caleb brought, saying that since it belongs to the school, Caleb should not carry it. But Caleb reasons that maybe there is a meaning in it, like a math puzzle or something. After telling him to return it to school, Caleb goes to sleep while John watches a video about his wife, whom he misses. This longing is also felt by John, so he drinks while watching the video until he accidentally spills his drink. He goes to clean the glass, but after placing it on Lucinda's paper, the paper leaves a circular stain. However, John becomes interested in the numbers near the stain, which are 911012996. He writes the numbers down, and because he remembers a historical event in his country, he guesses the numbers mean September 11th, 2001, and 2,996 souls who died. This refers to the 9/11 terrorist attack on the Twin Towers, making John unable to believe the numbers are true, thinking these numbers are guesses for major events that will happen after 1959. John becomes obsessed with these numbers, rewriting all of them on a board and guessing important historical events worldwide from those numbers. Many of these events are major tragedies that took many lives. One day, when he tries to predict the next event, he is shocked to see a certain group of numbers, and the glass breaks. The next day, he shares the numbers with Phil, especially about the Twin Towers event. He admits that he has matched the numbers and all are correct except for 3 groups of numbers representing events that have not happened yet. He predicts that tomorrow, somewhere on Earth, an event will kill 81 people, based on the number 81 in the code. This is hard to believe for Phil, So John tries to convince him by mentioning the hotel fire that killed his wife, which is also in the number list. He adds that he spent all night trying to find mistakes but found none. Despite this, Phil still does not believe it and thinks John only sees what he wants in the numbers, just coincidence. He adds that because of his wife's death, John's mind is unstable, which disappoints John. Then Phil leaves to continue his work. John then goes to Mrs. Taylor's house and tells her about his story with Lucinda. He explains that he once found her in a small room in the school, scratching unclear numbers on the door. He admits he does not know why Lucinda hides at that time, and Lucinda herself does not know why she did the scratching. When John asks where Lucinda is now, Mrs. Taylor answers that Lucinda passed away a few years ago. So John tries to find information about Lucinda from other people. Meanwhile, Caleb is playing soccer alone, and a car with 2 people arrives. Caleb's hearing aid starts to bother him again with the whispers. While hearing those voices, Caleb approaches the 2 people and is given a black stone. When John finds out, he quickly secures Caleb and asks who those 2 people are, and Caleb says they're just ordinary people. After that, John finds out about Lucinda's death and her last residence. He then gets startled by his sister named Grace, who offers to take care of Caleb at night so John can go out without any worries. When Grace starts talking about their parents, especially their father, John tells her to stop, as a sign that he has a strained relationship with his father. That night, John checks all the news broadcasts on TV to find out whether it's true that 81 people will lose their lives today after midnight. But after waiting continuously, there is no news about the deaths of 81 people, only regular reports, mostly about the heat wave. Now it's already late afternoon, and John just wakes up from his sleep after staying up all night. He suddenly remembers that it's time to pick up his son from school. So he goes right away, but unfortunately he gets stuck in a long traffic jam caused by an accident on the road. After selecting the fastest route to the school using his GPS screen, he leaves a voicemail for Phil saying that he wants to make peace. But at that moment, John's attention turns to the numbers on his GPS coordinates. From those numbers, he remembers a sequence he once saw, for 2417120, matching the numbers on the GPS screen. He strongly suspects that the numbers outside the circled ones indicate locations, and the numbers now point to the exact place where John is. So he gets out to check the situation and asks about the condition of the accident. Not long after, he hears a loud sound. It turns out an airplane crashes onto the road, and the plane gets destroyed. Feeling curious, John quickly investigates and sees people on fire, people hit by the explosion, and even others still trapped inside the plane, before the rescuers begin helping the victims. As a result, the incident becomes breaking news. When John gets home, he still feels shocked by the tragedy, especially after it is reported that 81 lives are lost, exactly like what is written on the paper of numbers. Sometime later, Phil arrives after receiving John's voicemail and learning that John was at the scene. Phil comes to discuss the mysterious numbers, and they conclude that the numbers represent dates, death tolls, and the locations of the events. John then tells him that there are still 2 disasters left, believing that the numbers are warnings meant for him. But Phil thinks the warnings are for them to stay away, which could mean that John is supposed to die today. After advising John to stop getting involved with the numbers, Phil leaves the house, while at that moment, the mysterious man is seen standing in front of the house. That man then walks into Caleb's room, and after Caleb wakes up, the man points at him, followed by a bright light appearing outside the house. This makes Caleb curious and look outside, and it turns out to be a burning forest scene, along with animals on fire. Caleb ends up screaming in fear, causing John to rush into his room to calm him down from his nightmare. At that moment, he sees the mysterious man still outside, so John chases after him angrily. But after confronting him and telling him to stay away, the mysterious man suddenly disappears without a trace. The next day, John goes to Lucinda's former house, and at that time a woman and a girl come out. Wanting to find out more, John decides to follow them until they arrive at a museum. There, John decides to talk to them directly and learns that the woman's name is Diana, and her daughter's name is Abby. Because of the heat, they go get drinks, where Diana explains that she is a widow after kicking out her ex-husband who couldn't behave properly. Learning that Lucinda had a child, Diana, John brings up her mother and asks if she ever had some kind of ability to foresee big events. This makes Diana angry, claiming she knows nothing about that, and she leaves immediately. But John tries to convince her, especially about her mother's prophecy that 170 people will die tomorrow in this city. Even so, Diana still claims she knows nothing and thinks John is a weirdo. To stay alert from the mysterious people, John takes out the gun he's been hiding before he starts searching for the location of the 170 death disaster. From the numbers 407-17400, John manages to find the location of the event, so he reports it to the police and tells them to close off the area, suspecting it will be attacked by terrorists. The next day, John asks Grace to look after Caleb again, so he can go to the disaster location without worrying about his son. Upon arrival, John sees that the place is very crowded, so he asks a nearby police officer why the area hasn't been closed yet. But the officer tells him to calm down and follow him, which John refuses and escapes, causing the officer to call his partners to chase John, who now seems suspicious. John runs toward the subway station, where the situation is crowded because it's in the city center with many workers using the train. There, John tries to find someone suspicious and sees a man hiding something inside his jacket, thinking it's a bomb. This makes the man panic and run away, so John quickly chases after him until the chase leads into the train, with police also running after them. Cornered at the end of the train car, the suspicious man finally surrenders, and it turns out what he's holding is not a bomb but a bunch of film reels he stole. Meanwhile, another train comes from the opposite direction, but the railway system malfunctions, causing the train to derail at high speed. John sees this, so he tells everyone to get back, but the train has already gone off track and crashes into the platform, hitting many people who don't have time to escape. As a result, many of them get hit by the train, and finally, 170 people die. Sometime later, everyone leaves the station, many of them injured, while John remains unharmed but in shock once again, just like before. That night, John returns home and gets a visit from Diana, who now admits her mother's ability after the subway incident. She remembers the 33 deaths John once mentioned, and her mother once told her that she would die on that day, which has disturbed her and her daughter, as they don't believe someone can predict the future. She says she doesn't want to know her future, because in the end, everyone dies anyway. Meanwhile, John wishes he had received the list of numbers earlier so he could have prevented the hotel fire that killed his wife. So Diana decides to help John by telling him where her mother's old house is located, in the middle of the forest, so they can search for any clue about the mystery of the numbers. Before they enter the house, Diana finds it strange that the last two digits, which she thought were 33, are actually two reverse letters EE because she remembers her daughter used to write that way back then. They then enter her house, where they find a photo of her mother with Diana as a child, and it reveals that her mother had died from an overdose, with her body found in her bedroom. In one room, there are many collections of news articles about major past events. Among those collections, John finds an image that catches his attention, someone being given a paper for winged beings in a round-shaped object, so they decide to take it. Next, in Lucinda's room, John feels like he steps on something, which turns out to be the black stone his son had received from the mysterious people. Beside it are more black stones, along with many writings under the bed. Because of that, John tries to lift the bed and becomes shocked by the writings, which turn out to be the word everyone from the initials EE that they had seen in the numbers, meaning the next event will wipe out all living creatures on Earth. Meanwhile, Caleb hears the whispers again. The mysterious people come to him once more. One of them tells him to follow, so Caleb quickly honks the car horn to signal John and Diana to come back immediately. It turns out the mysterious people are already gone, and after hearing the children's testimony, John sees one of them walking into the woods. So he quickly chases after him with a gun, until he finds the being and asks what he wants from his son. But the mysterious man doesn't answer. Instead, he opens his mouth and emits a bright light that blinds John for a moment. And when John's vision returns, the being is already gone. Back at John's house, Diana admits that those beings have also followed her daughter before, which indicates that Abby can also hear the whispers, just like Caleb. The next morning, John sees Abby doing something to the mysterious drawing. She colors one figure at the top in yellow, indicating that it represents the sun. Thinking it makes sense, John goes to the observatory again, where he and Phil check the solar activity they had studied before. In 2001, the sun had released a flare. Upon checking again, John strongly suspects that the flare released back then was a warning to everyone, and what will happen next is a super solar flare that could destroy all life on Earth. Phil thinks they should inform the government, but John believes the government already knows about this threat. Feeling threatened by the potential doomsday, John asks how to stop it, even though he knows it's impossible. Phil also feels the danger, So John suggests that he be with his loved ones while there's still time, before he himself talks about the apocalypse to Diana. Diana confesses that she was wrong to pretend her mother was crazy, and now she thinks about hiding in a cave that might save them. John agrees, so they begin to prepare all their needs, and John calls his father to warn him about the apocalypse. But his father says he doesn't need to save himself, as he feels ready whenever God calls him. Suddenly, their phone signal gets disrupted, a sign that solar activity is beginning to intensify. When John calls Caleb to leave quickly, he becomes shocked to see his son writing numbers like Lucinda once did, and keeps writing, even scratching the desk to write down the number 155234445. After he stops him, they all leave to go to the cave. However, Diana feels that the path they're taking isn't the way to the cave. It turns out to be Caleb's school. This is because John recalls Lucinda's story of scratching the door in the small schoolroom, strongly believing that Lucinda's real goal was to show the final coordinates for salvation, not the cave. So he goes there to take the door, then brings it back home to peel the wooden layer and discover the coordinates. Diana finds this hard to believe, so she decides to stick with the cave plan and leaves with Caleb. A few moments later, John successfully gets the numbers and enters them into his GPS, which turns out to lead back to the place where he met the mysterious man in the forest. Knowing Diana had left with her car, John rushes after her using his own vehicle. During the journey, Diana stops at a gas station to refuel. While paying, she's startled by the TV that broadcasts an emergency message from the government announcing the super solar flare. But instead of the president, it's the military commander who appears and informs that the shelters are full, advising everyone to find their own protection. When asked about the president's whereabouts, he says the president and his staff have already been taken to a safe location, a sign that the government had known about the solar flare threat beforehand. Meanwhile, Caleb becomes worried about his father, so he uses a public phone to call him. Shortly after, Diana takes the phone and tells John their current location. At that moment, John insists they go to Lucinda's old house again, emphasizing that the cave won't save them, since solar radiation will penetrate 1.6 kilometers into Earth's crust. Even so, Diana doesn't believe him and continues to the cave. But not long after, her attention turns to a black stone in front of her. It turns out the mysterious beings have kidnapped Caleb and her daughter using Diana's own car. Panicking, Diana quickly chases after them using another person's car who is refueling. At a red light intersection, Diana refuses to wait and overtakes all the cars, and ends up getting hit by a passing truck. In a critical condition, Diana sees the black stone in front of her and can only keep looking at it. Meanwhile, John arrives at the gas station and asks the attendant about Diana. The man informs him, so John quickly continues his journey, while the gas station descends into panic due to the government's announcement. Some people even begin looting food and drinks in fear. Upon arriving at the traffic light, John checks the crash scene and sees Diana has had an accident. Paramedics try to save her, but tragically, they fail and Diana dies. The time of her death is just past midnight on the day the apocalypse is supposed to happen, which proves Lucinda's prophecy about when Diana would die, even though it's not caused by the apocalypse. While holding her hand, John finds a black stone that Diana had apparently held before dying, a message that Caleb and Abby have been taken by the mysterious beings. Sometime later, John arrives at the place where he had met the mysterious man before and finds the land now filled with black stones, indicating that the mysterious ones have left the stones as clues. After seeing the car parked by the mysterious figures, John finally meets one of them and asks him to return his son. Not long after that, Caleb arrives and tells him to stop, which calms John once he sees that his son and Abby are both okay. After the other three mysterious figures arrive, Caleb says that they have actually protected them all this time, and now they come for them, having already prepared the path. When John asks who these mysterious figures really are, something massive appears above them. It is an interstellar arc, capable of traveling between stars. Caleb adds that they have been chosen so they can start over, so that everything can begin again. But when Caleb invites his father to come with them, one of the mysterious beings stops him and explains that only the chosen ones can go, those who hear their calling through the whispers. Knowing this, John has no choice but to let his son go, even though it is very hard for Caleb to accept. So, John gives him a necklace with a photo of them and Caleb's mother to remind him of his family. Caleb and his father say goodbye, and the mysterious beings reveal their true form. They are winged extraterrestrial beings, just like in the mysterious picture found in Lucinda's house. After a final farewell with John, Caleb and Abby are lifted into the air toward the Ark. Eventually, they leave Earth, along with other Arks from around the world that also depart. The next day, John wakes up to a yellowish view, a sign that the sun has already begun to destroy Earth slowly. John then returns to the city, where chaos is already broken out. Many places are on fire, people panic, and riots occur everywhere. Along the way, he sees his friend Phil, who is now with his loved ones, ready to face the end of the world. John decides to do the same. He goes to his parents' house, and finally, he hugs his father, allowing them to reconcile. His father says that this is not the end of everything. All the family members embrace each other, preparing to face the end. Then, the apocalypse begins as the super solar flare strikes, wiping out all living beings on Earth. And finally, the Earth is gone. The movie ends with Caleb and Abby having arrived on another peaceful and calm world, where they run through a vast open field, and finally, they approach a large mysterious white tree that symbolizes the Tree of Life. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notification so you don't miss the latest recaps. Thanks for watching and wish you good health.